the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, hello and welcome back. It is time for another one-week project. And the one-week project for this week is going to be the Vulcan Shuttle from Star Trek The Motion Picture. In my mind, still one of the best of the Star Trek motion pictures. I would probably put it behind Undiscovered Country as my favorite Star Trek film. But still, a darn good one. And a wonderful design. And this is the second edition. This is not the original release. This is the pretty mauve version that comes with the not quite wallpaper decals, but let's just say big area rug wall, decals, because it doesn't go wall to wall, but it covers a good chunk of it. And that's where the adventure is going to be this week, because I'm not going to light it because of the way it's designed. It's kind of tough to channel wiring through it, and really there's not a lot of lighting to it. I know that in the movie there was a strobe on it, but that means getting inside, putting switches and batteries in it. Even if you did a remote switch, you would still need a battery power source to it. And for what it is, it's just not something I'm going to spend all that amount of time on. Now, they did something that I have to highly commend them on this version of the kit, because I'm that way myself. They put magnets in it so that you can magnetize the warp sled, or the cargo or the passenger module, to the sled. And that's a smart idea. It's not exactly where I got my idea, but it's a smart idea. I had one of these back in the day, and I painted it in the brown rust colors. I don't even know. I bet you I could find it somewhere in here, because it did survive the move, but the move down south from when I was a child up in Pennsylvania. But it's here somewhere, but I can't find it. Anyway, it's in pieces. You don't want to see it. But this is the pretty purple version, the mauve version. And having just finished the Joker in that mauve, I'm still in a mauve kind of mood. So that's why I kind of settled on this. Plus, all of the fun decals should make it an interesting build. But let's just catch you up with where I am. Oh, it's Tuesday, by the way. Yesterday I didn't... I had to put out an order, so I didn't do any modeling other than deciding which kit to make and doing some preliminary work. So let's go back here. Okay, and you can still see the towel is still stained from the Joker painting that I did last week. So we're still in that purple frame of mind, or the light lilac frame of mind, or mauve. And I've done some preliminary work. Now this kit, simple to build. I mean, if you shake the box right, it'll come out already built. But it is a testament to seaming, to making sure that your seams are nice and sanded and smooth, because you've got, well, because you've got long ones all the way down the length of the nacelles, and particularly on the sides of the cargo module, the passenger module, you've got some sanding, and there's a big old gap underneath there that was evident in the original kit, and it is back in all of its shining glory for this repop. So I'm going to be doing some puttying, but I've got the warp engines put together. I've got the parts of the sled put together. I've got the magnet buried in there, so that when you slide that on there, it's not very strong, but it's strong enough to hold it in place, which is really all you need. And there goes the phone. Okay, I'm back. Apparently it is still high season for telemarketers. Anyway, where was I? So I've got the major assemblies put together. I got a good sanding on those seams, and I'm going to leave these guys off because they are painted a different color than the rest of it. So what I want to do is get this part of it put together, put some primer on it so that I can see which seams still really need to be worked on. And then we can work on the top colors from there. Where else? Was there anything else? Oh, I will be doing, this is the lovely Probert artwork on the cover. I will be doing the Vulcan Shuttle colors in the pinks and mauves and purples, and not the equally lovely, but not going to do it, Federation version, which is done in grays. I have pulled out the old Reliant alignment jig so that I could use it for a similar but different purpose. I need to align the warp engines to the sled and get them nice and square, and they really don't want to go that way naturally. So I am putting this on a nice flat level surface. I am leveling this up, putting a lot of weight on it to keep it flat, and trying to keep both of these nacelles in square and level. And it was not happening by itself. It needed a little bit of forcing, so that's when you get out the heavy artillery. You pull out this piece of wood and lay this guy flat, and then once I had everything flat, I went and troweled some glue into that joint, and I'll let that cure for a few hours and then come back and probably putty on the inside to take care of whatever gap may be remaining. But I remember that being a similar problem in the original pressing, that aligning those nacelles was a bit of a challenge. So there you go. We'll let that sit and I'll go get some lunch. Hey, it's Tuesday late afternoon. I've got a dried coat of the primer filler on this, and I have sanded it up, and I found a can of paint at Walmart that I thought I would try. It's gloss, which is the tone, but it's called Ballet Slipper. It's a little bit pinker than I need. I think at some point I'm going to have to accent it with a little bit of purple, but I am curious as to what the decals will do to it. So I may end up getting all the purple I need out of the decals, but I'm going to put a light coat of it on here and see how it looks, and if I don't like it, well, you know, I'll do something else. But for right now, I'm going to put a light coat of the Ballet Slipper on the sled. Okay, so I tried a quick shot of that big can of rattle can of Krylon. Didn't like it immediately, tossed it, or didn't toss it, but put it aside and dug out the trusty Tamiyas. Quick whip up of a good mauve color, which is mostly pink, dash of purple, and a hunk of white. And that yellow had nothing to do with it. It was these three. And then a quick coat over everything, and I'll let this dry tonight. Now, there is some sanding to do tomorrow, and the bottom of this warp sled still hasn't been touched. But happy with that. I'm concerned about putting too much paint over those magnets because they're not as strong as they could be, and I don't want the magnetism to lose its reason for living if it has too much paint between them. So let this dry overnight, and then we can do some more sanding and touching up tomorrow, and do some more body painting. Yay! Good morning, it's Wednesday, and I had to do a quick bit of painting this morning before I go out, and I decided to go ahead and block in the gunmetal. Those are supposed to be black in the instructions, but I like them better as gunmetal, so that's what I'm going to do. And now it's time to take the tape off to see how well he turned out. Okay, I've got the tape off, and you can see the gunmetal areas, and I'm going to let this dry for a few hours and then come back, and I think I'll be ready to gloss coat it so that I can start putting the decals down. Okay, it's time to start decaling the Vulcan Shuttle. Now, the decals for this are numerous and many, and they call for decals of things that we've actually already painted. So that's going to be interesting. Like these strips that are in the mating surfaces where the slide, where the shuttle comes together, they're also calling for decals there. So we'll have to cut those out or decide if we're going to put them over top of the painted areas. So I guess there's nothing to it but to get started on it. Should be fun. It's like every square inch of this thing has got some sort of decal on it. Well, that was a short experiment. It's time to me to go on my decal rant again. I need to do something about these decals because they flaked apart. Once I put it in place, I couldn't move it without it breaking up into 1,000 pieces. So I tried something. I knew it was risky, so I tried on a very inconspicuous spot, and I was hoping that these were going to be decals of good standing, but they are not. So I guess I need to go get some sort of spray to reinforce the decals, before I go to use any of them for anything else. So there you go. There's your lesson. Round 2 in decals. It's a love-hate relationship. Okay, let's get you all caught up. I'm back now. I had to take a drive over to the wonderful Hangar 18 in Cary to order some supplies. I've already screwed up this decal. This is already for naught. The bottom of this cargo pod or passenger pod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of the decals that go on this, and I'm going to try the Tester's decal bonder spray. I remembered that I had this. This was from when I was making my own decals for another kit. And I'm going to try that, see how well it works. And if it doesn't work, I've only ruined the decals that go underneath this place that hopefully would never ever be seen because it sits like that. But while I was there, I also ordered a couple of other hopefully better supplies. One from Microsol or Micromark, that is a liquid decal film, and hopefully that will work a bit better. But that's going to be a few days to get here, so I'm going to have to either find something else to do if this doesn't work, find something else to do or build, or just cut it short, because it's supposed to come in on Friday, which is, you know, the day I put the video together. So let's give this a shot, literally, and see if it's going to get me through the interim while I'm waiting for the other supplies. Okay, I got mixed results to report. It's getting better with each decal. I'm getting a little bit better and better at it. Having sprayed them, that means I need to trim them out extremely tight again, because I've basically filled in all of the, you know, you see on these decals where the carrier film stops. Well, see, if you spray over that, you actually make a layer that covers the whole sheet, so you got to trim the decals out again. But like I say, each one is getting better and easier to put down, so I will now do the ones that don't show up in here before I start doing the ones that really kind of matter. Okay, I've got that much of the bottom done, and it's going pretty well. But I think this is where I'm going to let it rest for the rest of the evening. Got them down. I'm going to let them soak in. I've got the decal setting solution on them. We'll see how well it takes. Okay, I'm at Crossroads here, and I don't know exactly what to do. I've got some microscale decal film coming, which, as I am led to believe, is a superior product to the Tester's decal spray. So I don't know if I want to go ahead and spray the rest of these sheets. If I do, then I can finish earlier. If I don't, then I have to wait till Friday when the material comes and then try it. So before I get into the wholesale, you know, large stuff, I feel that I want to wait and do that with the microscale stuff. But I could, if I wanted to, go ahead and finish this guy up with the spray. So what I'm thinking of doing is waiting until tomorrow, see how these dry in, and if they dry in any better than what they are now, because right now they don't look that great, but if they dry in better than this, then I will go ahead and do a lot more of the work with the spray. I probably will finish this or get a good run at it, and maybe do the top of that. So we'll see, but I think I have worked on this enough for one day. Okay, I had to do it. Before I ended the evening, I wanted to put the big view screen / front window / whatever decal on the top of the module. And yeah, it kind of looks like a cartoon. These colors, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to let that dry overnight and see how it looks in the morning. Morning, it's Thursday. It's day 2 in decal hell, and you know, I've spent so much time here, I think I ought to buy a timeshare. got a lot of decaling done yesterday and let it dry overnight, and it looks pretty good. Of course, it won't look like that once I put a flat spray over it, but it looks pretty good. And this was the sheet that I had sprayed with the tester's decal lacquer. And it worked a lot better than the raw decal sheet did. But it also has one unfortunate side effect, is that I seem to be deathly allergic to it. Every place it got it broke. I broke out every place that it got near me. So I'm looking at this second sheet today, and I'm going to test a decal from this second sheet to see whether I need to spray it or not, so that I can save myself that pain and anguish today. So I'm just going to pick one at random. Well, actually, I want to pick one that's fairly hidden, so in case it screws up like these ones did yesterday, or the one on the bottom of the sled did yesterday, that I am not losing a very visible decal. So I think I'm going to try for something up in here. And if that works, then great. I won't have to spray this sheet. If not, then I'm just going to have to glove up and respirator and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is about that lacquer, but just being in the same room with it is enough to make me break out. So let's try some experimenting. Okay, good news. I picked a couple of decals that were doubling up for painted areas anyway, and they seem to have come off nice and been nice and thick. So maybe it was just that other sheet that was giving me cause, and I was over analyzing it. So I feel confident enough that I'm going to continue on the work on this bit of the sled, see how well it goes. Okay, this is going pretty well, but I have to say the decals themselves some are larger than the areas they're supposed to go in, some are smaller. Almost all of them are too wide. I'm having problems getting them to wrap around the areas they're supposed to go down, but it's not horrible. But you know, I don't have much experience with wallpaper decals, and I can tell you I'm not loving it, not automatically a fan. So we'll let these dry, and I'll try to get onto another area that won't touch any of this. Okay, these are going down pretty easily. This second sheet has just been worlds better, easier to use than the first sheet. I probably, you know, if there's a rotten apple in the barrel, I'm gonna find it first. So maybe that was just a case of finding the rotten apple. Problem is, I want to go faster than the decals will allow me, so I have to step back, and I'm trying to figure out what pieces I can put on and what pieces I can't without, again, the problem of stepping on my own work. So I've got this side, and I've got the whole inside here. I'm going to put these guys on here, and then I'm going to walk away and for a good while until I can come back and let all these have been a chance to get a good drying in. Now the pieces that go here, they recommend putting on after you've put the decals down, which is smart, because I've noticed in the decals they are not allowing enough room to go around objects. Like they cut in a really small area here where this fin goes, and you're supposed to wrap around the fin, and I've had to and it's one of those things that even if you put the sheet of paper, the decal down over the part, you can't always tell until you've pulled the decal off. So you end up cutting the decal once it's on the kit and moving bits around, which is nobody's friend. So let me put on these showy decals here. I don't know if I'll be able to get this on. I'm going to try to get these on, which will give me all of this side, and then I can walk away. Okay, I've done as much as I want to do right now, because everything else involves manhandling, and I don't want to manhandle the shuttle. Plus, I still have a bulk of tomorrow to work on this. So these are all done. Top is done, and that side is done. Some of the bottom is done. I've got the insides of both here, and then I've got the underside of that to do yet. So it's a good place to let it go and dry, and then I will come back to it in a bit. Good morning, it's Friday. It's the last day of the week for working on the Vulcan Shuttle. And we're almost done. I have a few scant decals to put on, which are the marking decals, and that is where we're at this morning. Now, I have coated this with a clear to kind of lock the decals in, and then I'm going to let that dry, put these new marking decals down, and then flat coat the whole shebang. And then we'll see whether there's any sort of decal or detailing brushwork to be done. But if you look at this, you'll see the testimony of learning how to work with these decals. First of all, this was the one that completely got screwed up. This one's not so bad, and then I get progressively better as I finish the bottom of this off. And then I think I finally got the hang of it towards the rest of this, but still there were some that matched up and some that didn't match up with the contours of the kit. And it's been a little bit of a mishmash trying to get them all to fit. For some odd reason, the ones on this side were spread out more than these sides are kind of bunched together. But you know, this is the plastic. I can't I couldn't stretch the decals to fit over the bare areas and things like that. So I have to fault the decal design on that. If it doesn't fit the contours, it's not because I didn't try. So let this dry, let this cure for a little bit, let that set up, and then we'll come back and do the markings. And well, like I said, I've just told you what we're going to do today. So there. It's time to start with the registry decals and wrapping this guy up. Now these were all on the bad, quote, bad sheet. So these have the spray on them, so it means they have to be trimmed very closely. So let's start with, let's start with the warp sled left nacelle. So there should be a big Surac going, which is number 128, and it should be going right up there. So let's get that on. I'm sorry. Here it is, 128. It needs to go there. We go. All of the markings are on, and now what I need to do is let them dry. I'll come back and give this whole thing a coat of the Krylon Clear Flat, and then we will go in and do some weathering. There's some lovely rust weathering, looks like to be done up in here, and some streaking, something that will break up particularly this mass here. But I want to do all that after everything has had a flat coat on it. I want to touch the paint on some of these places where the decals don't exactly meet up. Do some cleanup, but again, let's do that after all the decals have been locked in with a good flat coat. Okay, there you go. Should be done. I put some dirt on it, some streaking. It does clean up, or even by making it dirtier, it actually cleaned up the lines a little bit. I like it more. Still not my favorite model. Was able to bring it back from the brink a little bit, but I gotta tell you, not a fan of the wallpaper decals. They did a stupid thing. They, well, the decals did. They rolled up at the edges, and that's because I don't know why. I let them dry overnight. I hit them with the spray, and they still they still rolled up. Not a big fan of the wallpaper decals, never have been, and now I know why. But I think by adding the little, I've knocked down the cartoon look of it by adding a little bit of spray here and there and some smudges and some dirt. All of my, well, I'll say most of my failures are right in here. And of course you can cover it with enough scorching and enough dirt to where you're not going to see it. And by and large, I'm happy with it. It's this stand I don't like. Boy, Lou, is there anything you like about this kit? Yeah, there's a few things I like, but this stand, I'm going to probably end up gluing it in one position to keep it something like that. But there you be. There you be. For a 1-week build, not too shabby. For an experiment in wallpaper decals, better to try it out on something like this than to try it out on a big refit or Reliant or any of the larger kits that has the wallpaper decal. Definitely a better test subject to get your decaling skills honed. Lucky thing about the second sheet is that they weren't nearly as bad as the first sheet and didn't have to be sprayed. But let the results speak for themselves. So there you go. And there you go. That's going to finish up this 1 week build. Forgive this. I'm a little bit still red-faced from the face full of spray I took yesterday or the day before. That really is giving me the burny itchy skin. But enough of that. Here is your final Vulcan Shuttle. It's one of those ones that's been sitting on the shelf, it's been sitting in the stash for a while, and I finally got it out, and I'm glad I did. It fits in with the motion picture line of models. I still wish they would come out with a decent sized travel pod and a decent sized work bee to really complete the series, because you've got the refit, you've got the Katinga coming out this fall. This would we got the Vulcan Shuttle. That would be really all you need. Would be the travel pod and the work bee to dress out the entire set. So until next week, when we pick something else out of the stash and start working on it, be good to each other, and stay away from sprays that make your face go puffy. See you then.